I do want to do this. We talked about it on the show last night. G, you were chiming in. You called me McChicken on my take on this. And then Earl said something that sparked a thought in my head. We were talking about who's more likely to get a contract extension or who should get an extension after this upcoming season, Jedrick Wills or Nick Chubb. And you guys both said Chubb. I said it's more likely that it's Wills. Real quick, and we're not going to spend a ton of time on this. Mm-hmm. But, Earl, you brought up the point that people arguing for Wills reminded you of people arguing for Baker.
Yeah.
As in, we know he's not that good, and we're scared to make a change. Do you want to elaborate before I make a comment?
Yeah, because somebody
had said, a thought in my head that
somebody had said something to me about that yesterday. I was like, it's a bad comparison. I'm only talking about from the fan perspective and how they talk about this, right?
Why is that a bad comparison?
I don't know, because people,
actually, it's a good comparison.
Listen, people got their opinion. I don't get mad at people who disagree. That's why the world is the way it is. We're not supposed to agree.
That's why we have a show.
Exactly.
If you agree with everything we said, no one will watch.
But Jedrick Wills is a middle of the road left tackle, right? We can all agree about that. He's not the worst thing that you've ever seen. He's not the best thing you've ever seen. He's average.
He's vanilla.
And you can get by with average as long as the rest of the parts is moving in the right direction. That's the same thing that we said about Baker Mayfield. Yeah, we know Baker Mayfield is not the best quarterback in the NFL, but he's not the worst that we've seen, especially in Cleveland. And when you have a rookie year like that, now you're convincing yourself mentally, you know what? I can get by with this average quarterback. I can get by with this average piece on my roster. And I think that sometimes fans are afraid of what's on the other side of average, because you can realistically go in the wrong direction and end up with a player that's much worse. But you can roll the dice and you can end up with a player that's much better as well. And I think that sometimes, man, we get a little complacent with average, right? We get a little complacent with just being good enough. And I don't know if it's because of people of being afraid to roll the dice or because the Browns have had so little success that the fact that you see somebody that's just okay, it makes it good enough for you. And so when I hear these conversations about why the Browns should keep Jedrick Wills versus moving on, it just sounds it's a lot of similar talking points on why people thought we should keep Baker Mayfield.
So you said that yesterday, and I was like, that's a really good point. It makes sense. And what led to that conversation was me saying I think Wills is somewhere in that 15 to 20 range in left tackles, and we don't know what DeJuan Jones is yet. He's a rookie, unproven. He may be better. He may be worse. And I just don't feel confident in having a guy who may be worse at arguably the second most important position in football. And it got me thinking. When you make a move from average, you just don't know what you're getting, right? The Browns moved on from Baker Mayfield. They got Deshaun Watson. Despite what we saw last year, we all agree it's a significant upgrade, right? Let's go back.
I agree with that.
Let's go back to 2018. Jed Wills is the Kirk Cousins of left tackles. The Washington Commanders were like, Kirk Cousins, you want a lot of money. You're okay. We know you're not great, but we think we can do better. Do you know how many different guys have started the game for the Commanders since 2018? How about this list of superstars? You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Alex Smith, Josh Johnson, Colt McCoy, Mark Sanchez, Case Keenum, Dwayne Haskins, R.I.P., Kyle Allen, Taylor Heineke, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Garrett Gilbert, Carson Wentz, and Sam Howell. They're in quarterback hell. And what scares me about potentially moving on from Wills, despite the fact that I know at best he's a top 15 to 20 left tackle, is if you have a terrible left tackle or a bottom 10 guy, as Ross Tucker put, your most important person on the field is Deshaun Watson. The guy in that spot at left tackle is protecting his blind side.
Mm-hmm.
If you lose Watson, nothing else matters. You lose your quarterback.
Absolutely.
I just feel so terrified. I have nightmares. G had apprehension about the no speed in receiver. And while I sleep like crap anyway, I would probably get 3 hours of sleep from the entire week 1 to week 18 if we had a guy at left tackle I wasn't sure was at least league average.
But
and that's what scares me.
I ain't seen 5 hours of sleep in 5 years, but
Actually, there might not be a panel in America who sleeps less than
no, this panel right here, we don't sleep at all.
That's a whole different discussion.
But before G go, I'll say this to your point. I agree with you. Because if something happened to him, that's who's protecting your quarterback. But also look at it like knowing that Deshaun Watson has his hands pretty much on the entire offense, and that he has a say in a lot of the things that's going on. He's the guy that's out here working with these offensive linemen. And I'm pretty sure that if they decided to move on from the left tackle, that they'll have a conversation with the franchise quarterback. And so me and you talked about this off the record. You know, if Deshaun Watson was to give the okay because he trusted the other guys that was next in line, I will feel a little bit better about it. But like I said, I get it. I understand it because there's an opposite side to average. You can go backwards.
And
I get it.
That's what scares
I get
the
it.
living, you know what, out of it.
Yeah, I get it.
Let's just get down to it.
I knew he was finna go there.
Let's just get down to it because I've never seen this is what I don't like about people sometimes fans when they do this. Like, look, what are you basing your feelings on? See, there's a lot of times because there's very few people in society that understand offensive line play. There are very few people who have ever been big. There's very few people who even pay attention to what they do up front. It's just, hey, well, you know what? Did you give up a penalty or a sack? And if you don't, they think you're good. But the stats bear something different. And if you watch the All 22, Jedrick Wills consistently, if he gets beat, stands up, looks around in 3 seconds with his visor on, looking around like, who did it? If that's your man, get your guy. Not only does he not play to the whistle, he is not a great run blocker, pass blocker, or overall a grade. He does not have one. Now, I'll give you this. He was the 51st rated tackle last year. That ain't middle of the road. Did you make up middle of the road in your head? What is middle of the road? Like, I don't know. I think that's completely made up. By the way, do you know Jedrick Wills? Let's get hold on, Jed. Come on, I want to be clear. I just want to be very clear. In his career, 2020, he was a rookie. His grade was a 61.5. Everybody's talking about we could get rid of Nick Chubb because Chubb, he doesn't get, is it the O-line or is it Nick Chubb? Well, let me show you your run block grade, 50.3. Come on now, where's the middle of the road? I'm looking for it. Maybe that was a bad year, rookie year. Let's go to the next year. He upgraded, whole 5 points, 66.1. Now, I don't know where you guys went. A 66 is a D, right? In all grading, all schools. Wherever you're at, that's public, private, that's a D. Oh, he came up, he was a 61.7 in run blocking. Hey, man, listen, he moving up. Bill Callahan doing this, working with him. He's balling. Oh, 2022, you regressed. You're a 62.9 now. You're almost an F. That is 62.9 overall, and your run blocking grade was a 55.3. You tell me, all these people around here, and this pisses me off about y'all, because y'all sit up here and do low-hanging fruit, and you talk about getting rid of Nick Chubb, got to take a pay cut, can't play a running back. Why sure as hell can't pay a top 10 tackle for 62%? Because you don't understand. Just listen, Jay-Z said it. Hey, just because you don't understand him don't mean he's bright. Just because you don't understand that he's garbage does not mean he's not garbage. So you're going to give an extension to a left tackle because he's middle of the road, and we're going to get rid of a potential Hall of Famer and your best offensive player because you ain't got no money. Well, like I said before, if you want all the money, go tell Jed Wills to get that money back, and we can keep rolling with Nick Chubb. I rest my case. Somebody tell me what's middle of the road.
Well, I mean, there was like 7 tackles in the league that had over an 80 grade last year. So if you want to go like the 61, you got to give it a little more context than just throwing out the grades. But listen, no one's saying Jed Wills is elite. He's not Joe Thomas.
61 ain't average. 61 ain't below average. 61 is atrocious.
But that's of all the tackles. So there's 64 tackles plus all the guys that
He's
played.
51st.
Sorted by snaps. Listen, now I sound like a Jed Wills defender.
Look, there you go.
I don't think he's that good.
Sorted by snaps.
I don't think he's that good. I'm just saying.
Let's find the rankings. Sorted by snaps and see.
Because like James Hudson's higher than him on the PFF
all I'm going
grade,
to tell
but
you
Hudson
is
only
why he's doing that, man. There's no doubt in my mind that I'm giving Nick Chubb an extension before I give Jedrick Wills an extension, right? I got 2 or 3 guys on that offensive line right now that can, I believe, next year, if not this year, can step in and fill the same role with the same production with less money, that Jedrick Wills did this year. I think that, I thought about what you said. I do believe Nick Chubb will get an extension. I think it will be a restructured extension, but I ultimately think he's going to get that.
I do agree with that, by the way. Yeah, I think he's going to end up restructuring.
I think he's going to get that. We all know the running back market is devalued. We all know where we are with that market. But a few things that Andrew Berry said Sunday sticks out to me. He talked about he believed that Nick Chubb is a superstar. he talked about that, yeah, even though the running back market is devalued because of the way that the league is trending, you still have to look at every situation by case scenario and then focus in on that specific player. And when I think about Nick Chubb, I always ask myself the same question. Is this dude in that rare air like Adrian Peterson and LaDainian Tomlinson? And if the answer is yes, he falls into that category, then yeah, I'm giving him an extension, because it's not always about what you do on the football field. This is a young man that embodies everything that you want within your organization. When you're talking about somebody that represents the franchise, he's it. He shows up for work, he shows up on time, and he does his job. And then when he's away from the facility, you can trust him to do the things that he needs to do. And I think when you look at him as an individual, you can't just group him in with the rest of the running backs, because I think this is a special man and a special talent.
I can't believe somehow I'm becoming a Jed Wills defender, because I don't like Jed Wills and I love Nick Chubb. But I just think in the grand scheme of this is how it's going to play out. And I think at the end of the day, Chubb ends up restructuring his deal, gets 2 more with the Browns at a lower number.